This morning we're talking about the Great Lakes Compact, and just recently in Elliot Spitzer's State of the Upstate, he mentioned it, and we're here to talk about the importance of it because we really haven't heard much about it. Dave White is here from New York Sea Grant. Good morning.
Good morning. Good
Thanks
to see
for
you.
coming in. Good to see you.
You're welcome.
The Great Lakes Compact, what is it?
Yeah, it's actually the Great Lakes St. Lawrence River Basin Water Resources Compact. And I say all that because someone may hear that and go, oh, it must be something different. Short name, Great Lakes Compact. Actually started back in 2001, and it comes from an agreement and a development with the Great Lakes governors and several Great Lakes entities to look at the water resources of the Great Lakes. And as folks look at a map anywhere in the country and you look at the Great Lakes, you see, a fifth of the world's freshwater resources there. And if you live in the south and are going through a drought, you live in the southwest and Las Vegas and other areas, and you need water, and you look at a map, you go, there's a lot there. People really recognize that, so it's really looking at how do you control the use of that water outside of the Great Lakes Basin and even inside the Great Lakes Basin when you have 8 states, 2 provinces, and 2 countries.
And that's the big picture. When you take a look at the smaller picture of living in the North Country and living on the shore, living along the riverbank, you're worrying about the water levels, and you're worrying about that for recreation, for your livelihood. Is this something that would protect and help out those concerns? Is this something that's good for the person that is concerned about the environment and the Great Lakes?
Those folks really need to be concerned about all of that because that all relates into it. Because as you go through dry periods and you have lower than average water levels, if you're allowing more diversions, and we're talking diversions, we're talking millions and millions of gallons potentially a day.
Right.
So you're talking large numbers. So that all has to come into play, but it's also the entire environment of it. If you start to change and manipulate that, and you have to remember, 3 of the Great Lakes have no control structure on it, so they're purely driven by Mother Nature. So if you start talking about removing more water from the basin, it does impact all of those folks. And it impacts folks right here in New York. I mean, and that's where the compact is coming in, so that if all of a sudden, if New York City needed water, and they could go out, it's feasible to build a pipe from Lake Ontario right down. I mean, there's ways to do that. Is that something that's good or bad? And what the other states were saying, and each state could say to each other, New York could say, sure, let's do that. Well, that could have an impact on other states downstream in Canada. So it's really looking at how do you develop a compact amongst all of the states. They all have to ratify it, and that's what Elliot Spitzer was referring to. The state assembly has ratified the compact as written in New York. It's now in the Senate. It's been reviewed a couple of times. They had to make some very specific technical changes to it because it's a very specific type of a law. So it's still working its way through the Senate. Conjecture is it's going to pass the Senate, and the governor's anxious to sign it. New York will then become the 3rd or 4th state, depending on when it happens to have ratified it. All 8 states have to ratify it. It then goes to Congress, and that's when you're really going to hear about it again, is when it goes to Congress, because now you're talking about the entire U.S. congressional delegation and Senate having to approve it. And so the New York and the entire Great Lakes legislators at the federal level are going to have to look at that and really start to talk about it, because you're going to have all those Southwest legislators saying, that's a big puddle of water up there that we could have access to for lots of other issues. So, and it's very technical and it's very specific. So folks really need to be watching it, and especially as it works its way into the federal government, because that's where it's really getting dicey.
All right, Dave White from the Sea Grant, New York Sea Grant, thanks for coming in. You think of the small picture about boating and all that, but 50 years from now, you don't know who wants to tap into the Great Lakes for drinking water, so it's very important.
People will say wars have been fought over water rights.
Yeah.
So you've got to look at it and see where it does go.
Yeah, we just heard it recently in the State of the Upstate address by Elliot Spitzer, so something to watch. Thanks for coming in. Good to see you. Back here in a couple of moments.